Yeah, actually, I'm going to ask Robert Forrester about this, Chief Executive of Vertu Motors, which also trades as Bristol Street Motors and Macklin Motors, got 160 car dealerships across England, Wales and Scotland. Morning, Robert.
Morning. I'm one petrol forecourt, believe it or not.
Oh, have you? Where's that?
In Widnes.
Excellent.
On
Do you keep an eye on the price at the pump there?
I certainly do. Absolutely do. And I've noticed, actually, in the west of the country, petrol's cheaper than the east. And I've no idea why. But as I travel around, that's my key finding.
Well, and when you say west, are you talking west of England, west of Wales?
Because I've had Pennines. I've had a lot of people. Pennines, it's cheaper.
A lot of people tell me that West Wales at the moment. If we've been speaking to holiday parks in Pembrokeshire this week, that you can, if you go on holiday there and you see the petrol prices, and then you return somewhere else in the UK, it's like, well, actually, they seem to be getting it cheaper there, and nobody seems to know why. If you've got any answers, we'll try and get some answers to those questions on Wake Up to Money in the coming days. If you've got them, 85058, of course, if you want to send us a message. If you are one of those independents that seems to be able to keep prices lower than some of the big supermarkets, there's criticism from campaigners around this Asda co-op deal that supermarkets have not done a good enough job to keep petrol prices as low as possible. What do you make of that deal, Robert, seeing more petrol stations go under the ownership of the Issa Brothers and TDR Capital that have e.g. Asda and now those co-op forecourts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a good deal for Asda, isn't it? Because more and more people are shopping every day rather than a big weekly shop, and these convenience stores are trading very well, I suspect. So people I do myself, drop in for petrol and nip in and buy 20 quid worth of food or whatever it is. So I think it sounds like a very good deal. And the co-op have been divesting of assets. We picked up a lot of car dealerships off the co-op about 10 years ago, as they've really gone back to their core.
Yeah, blimey, it's a real reminder of how, I mean, they still do a lot of stuff. The co-op car dealerships, I'd forgotten about those. When
they had Range Rover dealerships in Yorkshire, which always seemed quite bizarre, but we did buy them off them, and they ran them very well. But no, they have got rid of a lot of different businesses.
Interesting. Now, Robert, the actual reason we've got you on this morning is to talk about the electric car industry this morning, because the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, which represents the car industry in the UK, says it's worried rising energy prices could put people off buying an electric car. We've had the consumer rights group, which claim that the energy price cap that's kicking in a month's time could mean that some medium-sized electric cars could end up costing 150 quid a year more to run than a diesel equivalent. RAC saying the cost of charging an electric car at home will ramp up by 84% in line with the cap. That's not surprising. But Robert, when you look at this, do you expect consumer sort of habits to change again because of the way energy prices are changing so much?
Well, I think it's got to be the case, hasn't it? If consumers have reduced confidence, and if more of their disposable income is going each month on energy, then they're going to have less to spend on other items, and cars would certainly, I think, be one of those. But I think we've got to put it into perspective. People buy electric vehicles for a range, a lot of different reasons. The new ranges of the electric vehicles coming out are phenomenal compared to what they were 3 or 4 years ago. So I think people are still seeing value from an environmental standpoint and other reasons why people are buying electric vehicles, and we're still seeing a lot of customers buying electric vehicles. I think your point in the short term is well made, which is it is going to be, in some cases, more expensive to charge up an electric vehicle than it is to have a diesel. But when you look at the forecast for energy prices, it's really a short-term hike. The forecasts are that energy prices will come down quite significantly next year, and then we'll be back to the more normalised position.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends which forecast you listen to, because we've had, the Belgian minister, the boss of Shell, saying this is going to be a several winters, gas price crisis. I guess, therefore, if it does go on for longer, could that materially change the direction of what you think of flogging on your forecourts?
I suspect it won't, because the manufacturers are gearing up for the change in regulations, which means from 2030 you will not be able to buy a new petrol or diesel car. So we can sell what the manufacturers make. The manufacturers will make a lot more electric vehicles in the next 3 years, so a lot more of our sales will be electric vehicles. And as I say, there's a number of reasons why people buy electric vehicles, not just the daily saving that they get in charging up. So I don't think it'll make a massive impact, actually, beyond the wider economic impact of people having less money, and therefore the car market may be fairly subdued. Having
Uh,
said that, we've got record order banks. I mean, the order banks in the UK for new vehicles, because of the supply problems of actually getting new vehicles, are at almost record levels.
Are you seeing any change? Because we're hearing, you've told us before on this program that the waiting times, people might want a new car, but you can't just walk in and get it tomorrow.
Mm.
Are you seeing people change their mind while they're waiting? Because I saw a list the other day of what potentially an average household could end up having going out every month when it's 700 quid on a mortgage if you have one. It could be £500 on energy bills if it sort of continues at the levels that are predicted, and then add into that as well, people spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds a month on a car subscription, or whatever you want to call it, paying for that rather than buying it outright. Are people starting to change how they finance it?
No, I mean, we've got record order banks, and we've not got high levels of cancellations. Now, will that change when the crunch really comes in quarter four? I think we'll have to wait and see. But people, if they've got employment and if they live in 95% of the UK, need a car. You're not suddenly going to decide, I'm not going to have a car, because of the flexibility that it gives you and the affordability. Actually, cars are affordable. Clearly, people are going to be under a lot of pressure, but I think the car will be one of the last things they give up. Whether they decide to change and upgrade it in that period, I think, is an interesting debate. But I don't see a significant reduction in car ownership in the next 6 months.
And the idea of paying monthly for your car, is that just here to stay?
Well, that's always been the case, really, hasn't it? Most people since the 70s have financed their car on a monthly payment, be it hire purchase, PCP, or a leasing product. I think that's there, here to stay. I don't see people necessarily coughing up £25,000. I think if people can pay on a monthly basis, they will.
And Robert, before we go, I want to ask you about the pound. Weakness in the pound, down at below 1.16 against the dollar. What impact does that have on the car industry here?
It doesn't have much of an impact on the dollar. The key item for the car industry is actually the euro.
And that is
weakness against
one. It's no, I'm interrupting, but I just wanted to update. It's €1, 15.5 cents. So it's pretty much the same as the dollar at the minute against the euro.
Yeah, and that impacts car prices. So when the euro strengthens, then car prices in the UK tend to go up.
Gotcha. We'll keep an eye on that. Robert, thanks as ever. Robert Forrester, Chief Executive of Vertu Motors.